Here's Brian Kelly speaking yesterday to the press as he is getting ready for his SEC home opener with LSU hosting Arkansas. Gives an update on some injuries and what practice has been like this week for LSU.
It's probable. I think Ovi is a probable for sure, and I think Omar. I don't know what his status. I'd probably keep him where he was. He was. What was he? Doubtful. Probable. I would probably downgrade him to doubtful. I think those are the three. Was there anybody else?
That's it.
Those are three. Other than that, guys prepared. We had two hard days on Tuesday and Wednesday. Good energy today, and we'll have another day tomorrow, and looking forward to playing in Tiger Stadium.
Does not sound like Omar Speights is going to go for LSU. I wouldn't anticipate Mason Taylor out there, and it sounds like Ovi Agofu could
Mason
be.
Taylor is probable.
Yeah,
Probable?
I'd probably give Mason Taylor a go.
A go?
Yeah, he was dressed out last week. They just didn't play him.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Mason Taylor, here's his thoughts on the tight end room. Yesterday, Brian Kelly speaking about that position. Bless you, Stewie.
What number is it?
Two.
Lloyd doesn't know his numbers. He doesn't know how to
I
count.
learned that they're all young, and they're all learning. There's, look, there's talent certainly there, but there's a lot of growth, and we enjoy coaching them. Coach Denbrock, Terry Malone gets a chance to spend a lot of time with them, but there's a lot of teaching, a lot of growth, and every day is one step towards getting a little bit closer to where we need to be with a young group. Certainly, we were in that boat last year with Mason, and we saw great improvement throughout the year, and I suspect that we'll see the same thing with this younger group of tight ends that we have.
I love the group. I got to be honest. Watching
Same.
them last week, man, I know that they're young, and I know that they're going to make freshman and first-year mistakes, but it is a solid group when you look at the youth that was out on the field last week. They all three played, and McGowan, Pimpton, and obviously Markway got the start. But it's a group that, a lot like Mason Taylor last year, where you had a small amount of growing pain for a first-year player having so much responsibility. Not as much responsibility with Taylor hopefully being back in action and being that guy that, is the number one threat. But, getting enough playing time and experience where you're understanding, what you're in, whether it's the speed, the sizes, whatever, the venues, traveling on the road, what goes into, just kind of seeing something for the first time, in growing and developing that room into all of the experience that LSU will have. Not even like down the line, like next year, like further down the line this year. I mean, like this season, I think that they will have a group that is very much refined because of the amount of playing time that they're getting. KJ Jefferson is a big, strong quarterback for Arkansas that presents a hell of a threat for LSU defensively. Kelly was asked in preparation for Jefferson compared to a guy like Jordan Travis in week 1 versus Florida State. What's the difference?
Yeah, so, your defensive game plan certainly has to change a little bit when you don't have the threat of read option, certainly a quarterback that can get out on the perimeter and break, contain, and extend plays. We were much more concerned with some other things that Rodgers brings relative to experience, and we weren't really sure relative to the offensive structure, and you have to prepare for some other things in terms of third down and nickel and things of that nature, and dime. But yeah, the primary concern here is his dual threat, and so similar to Jordan Travis, who we played at Florida State, you have to have, those mechanisms within your defensive structure. So, we'll pull some of those things, and we did this week that, that you have to have on alert, for your defense.
KJ Jefferson he's different than what LSU will play all season long. Maybe the closest comparison would be Jalen Milroe. I mean, Jefferson is not the run threat that Milroe is, but he's big and just this physical. He's just big in the pocket. I guess if you get to him, you're going to have to. I mean, you're probably going to have to get there in numbers. I mean, I've seen more people just bounce off of KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, I was about to say I wouldn't even put Milroe in that conversation.
I would
Milroe's a little slighter.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
Anthony Richardson is fair.
Probably a perfect comp for KJ, but Anthony Richardson might be a little more athletic.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm talking about
comp.
size and like you saw what Anthony Richardson did against LSU last year. So they faced somebody with this body type to where you saw when they tried to talk about bouncing off of people. LSU was trying to get to the football instead of wrapping up, and Anthony Richardson took it 80 instead of should have been 15.
And so,
KJ Jefferson's that same type of player to where if he gets in the open field, they love to run him. They run him 15 times a game.
Probably not the speed.
No, but he's like a Tebow type runner where it's power, it's down, it's in your
between
face.
the hashes.
Yeah, and
that's the worst type of quarterbacks to tackle too.
And he can throw it too. So you don't see. I mean, that's if you're LSU. I think it's a good matchup stylistically though, because LSU's been running that 3 linebacker set where there's going to be a lot of bodies in the middle. So KJ's going to have to fight for it.
This is the bite that really stood out from yesterday of Brian Kelly talking about some of the adjustments that have been made since the opening week at Florida State, where LSU looks a lot different now going into this Arkansas game.
Yeah, look, we're still trying to find consistency in who we are. Again, when you talk about the identity of a football team, you make some assumptions about your football team, and I think I made some assumptions that were not accurate, and that was really a fault of mine in terms of the way I prepared the football team. And so we've made some tweaks and adjustments like anybody would along the way to prepare our football team in a manner that when it's time to play, they play with a competitive edge. Not only execute, not only, do the things necessary to win football games, but play with a competitive edge. And I think we've seen that come together over, the course of the last couple of weeks. And we need to continue to do that with consistency. So that's what we're going to try to do again this weekend. But that's what everybody's trying to do in college football, and that's be consistent.
I think that's one of the characteristics of a Brian Kelly team. Josh Pate yesterday, who covers college football and does it and has his show Late Kick with Josh Pate that you can find on YouTube, he expressed that as well. Brian Kelly's teams, notoriously, they have the reputation of they improve weekly. We saw it here in Baton Rouge last season. And the way that they started the season, I think look, Brian Kelly, as he said there, he had some expectations that he was off on. He had some things that he thought was going to work out one way that didn't necessarily work out the way that he thought it would. And they're making those adjustments and being able to kind of tinker and put the people in the right spots to find the best version of the team as fast as possible. And I think that is obvious. And, I think when you go back and you kind of go back and listen to what the reaction was, just from this show is all I can really speak of because we were here giving our reaction, and it's a hyperbolic spot, right? I mean, it's very reactionary in what you see and who's out there and what's going on. But the tone was always there is you got the formula, you got the people, you have the wherewithal to make this happen. Just what is taking so long to get there? And it's fair to think that when you're inside of it, you want to find the best way to do it. And if it's not, it may take you a second or two to realize that. I mean, the Harold Perkins experiment in the middle, it still is somewhat just mesmerizing to me that someone of that caliber of expertise and that experience, it takes them a little bit longer to say, hey, it's just not working. Like that's the part of that soundbite that I get, I hear.
Right.
And I'm not trying to go back and be retro critical. Like it's all working out. They're figuring it out.
I mean, he thought he put his best 11 on the field,
right?
And that's what he was saying. And obviously, I was impressed by the reporter kind of holding him to task for what he said in a post game presser. Is like, we're not as good as we thought we were, and that's a blanket statement for the entire year, is what he made it sound like. Like that's what you hear in the moment, but I think he did a good job of explaining. Like, look, that's what I felt like after that game. There's no reason we can't change and get better, and the thing that I think we were frustrated about when you talk about this LSU team is, why weren't you seeing these guys play earlier? That you see a Wes Weeks, you see a Denver Harris, you see like different people that get plugged in and play, Chris Hilton, like whoever it is, you get Logan Diggs, like you see all these players that are around that you didn't see in week one. And that's the biggest criticism is you had players, you just didn't play them. And now is that a development thing? What did you do in spring and fall? Or is it we thought we had found out our best 11 and that we were ready to go into that game, and now, oh wait, we're not as good as we thought we were. Let's go back to the drawing board and see who wants to compete.
Arkansas leads the league in sacks. They're coming in here with a defensive line that'll get after the passer. This is going to be a challenge for the offensive line. Kelly was asked about that yesterday, about whether his group up front is ready for the challenge.
Well, I mean, it affects it each week. You're always looking in the SEC as to how you protect your quarterback. And, this defense is no different. They have a new defensive coordinator. They have, two of the top 10 pass rushers, in terms of statistics, in the SEC. So, we clearly understand the challenges and maybe, from our perspective, probably haven't seen anything, everything that they can, bring defensively. So we have to prepare for, a number of different things. And again, I would say that it's similar to, playing a team for the first time, where you don't know exactly what you're going to get, so you have to prepare for a lot. And, we'll have the things within our, protection scheme that really focuses in on the key elements of what they like to do defensively.
I wonder how much we'll see of Zalance.
I think when you have
I wonder how much we'll see of Zalance Hurd tomorrow.
I'm interested in that as well.
I mean, it's obvious they want to crack him into the lineup. He had some woes last weekend.
Had some flashes.
Yeah.
He also had some flashes.
Offensive line just looks more physical with him in the game.
They definitely are.
Like, hey, I'm not a coach.
Right.
I think they asked Charles Turner about it, about shuffling Lance Hurd in and out of the lineup. Mm-hmm. And he made it seem it's not that big of a deal with Emory Jones sliding over to right guard because Brad Davis makes them learn every position. But you can see it's still a little disjointed when Emory Jones moves from right tackle to right guard because you're not playing the same position. I know it's easier fundamentally from what your responsibilities are, but it still changes what you do play to play.
Yeah.
And so I could see that being part if you just keep changing. Like he's got to look and be like, all right, Lance Hurd's in, I'm going to guard. Like, let me think about it for a second, what I'm doing on this play as opposed to right tackle. I know what I'm doing every play.
It probably changes the communication, too, like in terms of, like, stunts, stuff like that. Like, and Arkansas likes to stunt, so that might be something that we might have to watch.
Well, and a freshman, too, last week on those stunts is where he looked confused.
Yeah, but it was – sometimes it was more of, like, it looked like him and Emory were confused.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's probably the communication aspect
like
of
him
it.
not telling Emory, like, look, if he goes inside, you got to take him, or if he comes outside, I got to take him.
Because Lance Hurd crashed down, and he bodied him, but it didn't help the play at all.
Yeah,
because it was on that stunt where he caught him coming inside, and he cracked him, but there was nobody left to protect outside. And that's just, like I said, switching in and out and not knowing. You're either going to have to make a change at some point or stop doing it. Yeah.
This is the last one, Stewie. This is number 11, him talking about the linebackers and what he likes there as far as the rotation is concerned.
Fighting big YouTube right now. Make sure I'm on YouTube.
Wow, today's the Mike Gundy anniversary rant. I'm a man, I'm 40.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
2007.
Great year.
It was a fantastic year. Look at Gundy. He still kind of got a little baby face to him.
Yeah, no mullet.
We good. 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of it is obviously
after me.
keeping Harold in the position of Sam linebacker. So when he's playing Sam linebacker, obviously you put yourself in a position where you're not playing quite as much nickel. Whereas if you played him inside, we played nickel virtually the whole game against Florida State. So we've decided that him playing the Sam linebacker position, puts us with, whoever the combination is of the other linebackers. We just feel like that's a better situation for us. Now, there are stresses to that. When you go into a 3 wides, 4 wide situation, we've got 3 linebackers on the field. So we have to be able to adjust and make some adjustments accordingly when teams want to spread us out and do some things, to try to get some matchups with 3 linebackers on the field.
I love the 3 linebacker look. Obviously, after last weekend, it is going to be it'll be interesting how they react when they go against a team that really exposes when you got to get you got to throw an extra DB out there, or what it's going to look like with this group, because what Whit Weeks can do, he can run, and Whit Weeks run, the way he runs, he covers up a lot of stuff that could go wrong. I mean, speed covers up a lot of errors, and Whit Weeks has that. So it will be interesting to see how teams start to scheme against this look with Penn, Weeks, Perkins out there, and they try and expose that unit. Analytics versus, you got a thought on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, you saw what happened against, I think the best example is what happened against Tennessee last year.
Yeah.
Where obviously that's an offense that you don't see very often, but it's a variation of a spread where you don't think Lane Kiffin saw that game and was like, okay, I can get some guys.
Spread you out.
Yeah, that's the game I'm more concerned with. I think Arkansas, you're still going to kind of play in a phone booth a little bit and get away with having 3 linebackers out there. And the pressure that they get on the quarterback with that look, you saw Will Rogers have to make some quick decisions because he couldn't get to his reads because of the pressure with the bringing a guy off the edge nearly every play. But if you get an offensive mind like Lane Kiffin that you keep coming out in the same set, I think he's got a page in the playbook for that.
Yeah, I do too. Analytics versus gut feeling as a coach in today's game. Where does it fit in?
I think when you have a quarterback that is dual threat, when you have an offensive line that's emerging and coming together, and you have playmakers on the perimeter, you kind of have an opportunity to have the pen last. Like, do you want to put 9 guys on the line of scrimmage and stop the run? Well, you better have somebody assigned to the quarterback. If you're going to assign somebody to the quarterback, then you're man-to-man on the outside. So if you feel like your team can execute at a high level, then there should be some confidence to go for it on 4th down. And I think that that's how I feel about the players that we have, that we can execute at a high level. And if you decide that you want to take something away, let's say you want to double up receivers and you want to make sure that we don't throw the ball in short yards, then we're going to run the football. So I think that that's probably how I feel. With the other things that I mentioned, analytics, the feel and the flow of the game as well, and where we are in field position.
Brian Kelly yesterday speaking with the media. He wrapped up his media session last night over at TJ Ribs during his radio show, and that was some of the feelings and thoughts from the head coach going into the game on Saturday. It is going to be a raucous atmosphere. Thanks for tuning in to our premium LSU content right here on YouTube. If you want more of it, subscribe below.